Hello, guys, and welcome to my Washington Commanders 7 round mock draft. And obviously, this team, made it to the championship game. They're a very late pick, in the first round at 29, but they do only have 5 picks. I think that, if you're the Commanders, there's a few glaring issues on your team. And I do think that, if you have a perfect draft, in all honesty, 5 picks would be enough, but it's kind of a crazy low number. And it's just overall something to me that I look at and I think, like, this is definitely a team to me that, could really use more draft picks. Like, they say running back is a need, could definitely address that. Guard, I agree with. I think their tackles are all right. I think guard and tackle, more specific, and then it's like edge obviously is a need. Cornerback, I'm not so sure about. We're gonna look at their kind of board quick. The signing of Deebo Samuel to me is contingent on whether he can actually return to his form and play well. Because what he did last year was. I was not a Deebo fan. He looked overweight. He looked slow. He dropped a lot of passes, and just overall, just not a good year for him and the way that he looked in terms of his effort. Laramie Tunsil's a good pickup. They gave up a lot for him, but I do think it addresses a huge need in a guy that, like, yeah, he's had some penalty issues, but for the most part, he is a very good. He's a very good left tackle still. Allegretti's kind of a guy that I'm like questionable on. Tyler Biotish, I think, is fine. Sam Cosmi, while he's injured, I think is fine. Still a youthful talent, very solid player. And then Andrew Wiley, I'm not sure why, we have this kind of train of linemen that came here, type of thing. Obviously, they didn't come here this offseason, but it's like, obviously it did not work super well last off season type of thing. It's kind of strange to me that they say that they do need a running back. I think Robinson is good. I think Eckler is also still pretty good and that sort of thing. I think they're looking more for a guy who could be like the workhorse and difference maker, but I think the O-line was more the issue than the running backs last year type of thing. So it's like, we are going to look for a right tackle and a left guard, type of thing. Maybe a wide receiver. Like I said, I think this group could grow. I think Luke McCaffrey can continue to grow and that sort of thing. Hopefully he's training with his brother. His brother's healthy enough to train. And then it's like this guy can emerge as, maybe, last year he was just an unknown draft pick type of thing. But looking at the defense as well, obviously, having your pass rushers being Dorrance Armstrong and then Clelin Farrell. And then it's like you have Javon Kinlaw, who is a sort of pass rush defensive tackle, Daron Payne, as we know. So, I mean, unless you're only trying to get pressure from the middle, you need to draft an edge rusher here. But looking at the linebacker core, I think very, very solid, despite their porous run defense for whatever reason, But it's like Frankie Louvu played well. Bobby Wagner's still very good. Not sure about Mike Sainristil. Still, obviously last year he was a 2nd-round pick, so they're probably not going to draft a linebacker, but it's definitely not their biggest need. Safeties, Will Harris, don't know much about him. Quan Martin, and then corners. You have oh goodness, and I totally labeled Sainristil corner. Sainristil's a corner. I hated how these teams do this now, where it's like they always put it up in nickel, to be honest with you. But it's like, yeah, Nick Ballore and Jacob Martin, Nick Ballore and then Jordan Magee, as your backups. Maybe you do draft someone because you only have a few backups, but looking at the corners, Sainristil, Quan Martin, Marshawn Lattimore. Who Marshawn Lattimore is still very good. I think that the way out of the Saints was that, like, their team just was aging and they just, needed to, get draft capital for him. And it's like, but he's still a very good player. They weren't moving on him for that. Noah Igbinoghene, I can't say it, you guys. I'm sorry. Very good, I think. I think is underrated, to be honest with you. But I don't think corners as much of a need as it says here. I mean, so it's like kind of and it's like strange. They don't list wide receiver on here anymore. I think that they're kind of assuming that. I think that they're kind of assuming that hey, we, but I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to start, taking picks. I'm not going to talk about that too much more. I think Gray Zabel is a guy that you can bring in who it's like, I guess, had his best year at left tackle. I don't actually think you take him. It's like if his best year was at left tackle, why move him back to right where he struggled a lot? I guess he did get better going from, to this side type of this. And he's obviously a very good, like, lengthy size, but, and could be a good run game fit. We're actually are going to go Gray Zabel to the Commanders here, and we're going to address, and we're going to assume that they put him at right tackle, and that sort of thing. Moving on to round 2, we have 4 picks left. I think that looking at your defensive interior, I would go Shamar Turner here, but it seems like they're solidifying kind of there that they want to keep guys inside. And it's like, looking here, I think that, Jared Ivory is around, and he's a very good, like, good-sized prospect, a big guy. And it's like you can bring this guy in, and he will help your edge rush. Moving on to round 4. So Jaden Blue, we'll look at the halfbacks now. There is someone that I kind of like, but he's not available. He goes in round 3. Let's see here. Yeah, never mind. We're not going to find him, but kind of looking at this, we do need a guard, a left guard. This man played right consistently, but he played it very, very, very consistently. Some small injury problems, I guess, and that sort of thing. But it's like this Willie Lampkin looks like a guy that you can definitely, he's the small size dude. Maybe we don't go him. I totally forgot Willie Lampkin is the goodness. And I just think that that's going to cause him to drop, to be honest with you. We have Bashal Tuden here, who I do really like from an elusive rating, and maybe they do just want that kind of blazer speed, at 5'11" that they don't have. Young Austin Eckler had some pretty good speed, not so much anymore with his age, but we're going to actually we're going to go Bashal Tuden here as, a weapon that they add. So looking at what we've grabbed, we have edge, tackle, halfback. Ideally for me, looking at these last couple of picks, I think you're looking at wide receiver and you're looking at, guard, and it's like, I'm not seeing any guards right here, really. What's the next kind of guard? Is Miles Frazier at 216. I do actually like Miles Frazier. Has a very solid pass block. Did play a bunch of right guard, even though we need him for left. He did play at left, but has consistently gotten better every year. But even when he did play left guard, for the primary amount, he didn't let up a lot of, sort of pressures. The thing about him is that his run blocking isn't very good, even though he's a big guy, so maybe Miles Frazier isn't it. I like Timothy McKay, as anybody who's watched my videos has known. We are going to look at wide receiver right here and see who's available. Dyke, I like. These wide receivers from OSU, honestly, to me, were very, very good. we're kind of looking for a guy who's a little bit more of a speedster. And I'm kind of looking here going down, and I'm kind of thinking like, do we have anybody who's a bit of a sort of fast guy? Build, that's a slot dude. So it's like slot here, all over the place. Slot low. Chisholm I like. He can play in the slot. Did very well. Maybe we do go with Chisholm, and then they have a guy who can play in the outside type of thing. Good yards or reception type of thing, and very good production. You know what? I'm gonna go Chisholm to this team that I think that they can plug and play him anywhere. And it's like I don't know what they're gonna do with. And here at guard, I guess the highest we have is Clay Webb. We'll take a look at him. I don't think I've looked at him. Run block grade, zone grade, pass block. And he did play left guard, and he had some, pretty good, and he didn't level up a lot of sacks. This is the guy we're going to go for. The Gamecocks out of Jacksonville, you guys. That'll be our draft for the Washington Commanders. And we'll see, what they said. So they do say to draft Luther Burden, like I said. It's kind of an interesting type of thing. I think that bottom 24%, I personally think that it's like, you're looking at this, and it's like, oh, they really knocked us for the Chisholm pick. Even though it's like, oh, it's only a reach of like 13 above, where he's projected, and that sort of thing. But it's like, overall, I think it's a draft that would address everything, and it would, address, and it's like, I feel like halfback is one of those things you could ignore for another year type of thing. But it's, it's interesting. It's interesting to say the least. Obviously, the thing with Luther Burden is that he's been dropping down boards, and his effort has been kind of, and it's like, that would just be a bad situation, I think, if you ended up having a low effort guy in that. And it's like, what if the rumors about him, like, coming back aren't true, and he can't get back to form? I mean, sometimes when you lose it, it just doesn't come back so easily. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't just flick the switch on, being a difference maker player. Like it's just saying, I do not like when a player does that, unless they're a truly phenomenal generational player that quits on their team, like say Randy Moss with the Raiders or something like that. But it's like Deebo Samuel ain't on the level of like a Randy Moss, where it's like he quit on the Raiders because he was like, this team's never going anywhere when I'm there. But yeah, tell me what you guys think about this draft, and what you would have changed. Tell me what you think, in the comments. But I want to thank you all for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.